Welcome. This is Trinity Gaia Oracle. In this series, we will be taking a journey through each card in the Divine Masculine Healing Oracle deck by Christabel Jessica, and the artwork is by Cecilia G. F. I will begin with reading through the guidebook, as I have been guided to do so, and there's really such beautiful words and healing words here in the guidebook, and such awesome insight as well, with great depth. And the opportunity for healing, I could definitely see why I'm guided to do so. And then I will move into more of the intuitive reading of the card. For the collective that is tuning in, this is a timeless reading. So whenever you encounter this reading, I hope that you find some answers and some guidance from your spirit team here in validation and confirmation of your own intuition as to why this resonated for you. Today, we will be taking a deeper look into Dhakhan. Look to your family's history for clues to guide you toward areas needing healing. Break generational curses by changing patterns, ways of thinking, and behaviors. Australian First Nations mythology, known as the Dreaming, dates back 65,000 years. It centers around the belief that Earth was created by spirits who became embodied in the animals, people, and various aspects of the land. In the Dreaming of the Gooby nation of the southeast Queensland, Dhakhan is an ancestral spirit. Ancestor spirits emerged from the sky, the ocean, and the earth in many forms to create all life, living still as facets of nature, representing the interrelation of all things. As one of these spirits, Dhakhan continues to live in deep waterholes and presents himself as a gigantic serpent with the tail of a big fish. When he travels from one waterhole to another, he emerges from the hole he dwells in and moves through the sky in the form of a rainbow before flowing into the next hole. Dhakhan's message. Collective healing is achieved through personal healing on a familial level. Ancestral lines pass down trauma, pain, patterns of behavior, and belief systems intergenerationally until they are consciously looked at by someone in the family. Creating a chink in the link stops pain from extending to the next generation. Honoring your ancestors. All the beings who played a role in creating your life and family line can resemble healing the ailments they did not get an opportunity to work through. It can also look like harnessing the gifts they have left for you. Retrieve the rich history, strength, and resilience of those who forged the path that led to your existence. The aspects of those who came before you live within you now, connecting you through time and space. Ancestral healing occurs by feeling the pain passed down without being addressed thus far. Look to your family's past and review the beliefs, behaviors, and types of relationships that repeat. Ancestral healing occurs by feeling the pain passed down without being addressed thus far. Look to your family's past and review the beliefs, behaviors, and types of relationships that repeat themselves to see patterns you can actively break. Being a cycle breaker is not an easy task. You may be viewed as a disrespectful descendant by facing up to the family shadow. The thing is, a revolutionary, awe-inspiring ancestor can also be packaged as a disrespectful descendant. Step out of the shadows. It's no longer time to hide. You are not here to be a subservient descendant. A big part of ancestral healing is creating, and it is time to reframe the way you see yourself to a formidable ancestor. Stepping into that role with intention and purpose brings you into the mindset of a powerful leader and creator. Standing in the role of an ancestor who generates change requires feeling okay with rocking the boat, causing friction, and sometimes being seen as the black sheep of the family. Holding a mirror up to the pain, patterns, and beliefs that have previously gone unseen brings a sense of unease to those predisposed to turning a blind eye. Creating change is a labor of love you can offer to the generations coming after you. Honor those who came before you by soaking in their wisdom and by changing what they couldn't. Provide for those to come after you and produce new paradigms so they can lead a gentler path ahead. Moving into more of the intuitive reading of Dhakhan, he has a really healthy sense of humor with this. There's a playfulness that adds levity, kind of breaks up a little bit of the incredibly dense energy that you would be moving through working with Dhakhan. Being a generational curse breaker, in other words, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of strength, and a lot is that through being willing to surrender. There's going to be, yes, the black sheep side of things, where you're a little bit more of a rebel in that, no, I don't own this authentically. No, this is not my truth. And no, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to this. It's the pink elephants in the room that hurt everyone, but no one will stand up to, except for you. And that causes you to be seen as sometimes the troublemaker. Yet every time you point out that pink elephant, you see healing occur in those around you, because you give word to what they have all been denying. I'm being guided to share a moment in a story, if you will, of my life. I don't want to add that, but I guess I'm being guided to, so here we are. My daddy, he's my stepdad, but he always loved me like I was his own. So there was a great appreciation and connection there. He got to develop an actual personal relationship because my mother had raised us to ask why. And if we understood, we would agree. But he had kind of been a father from a young age, and he would just kind of yell what he wanted at us. And he didn't understand that he could reason with us, and we would more than likely be able to understand why he wanted us to do what he wanted us to do. He had 2 families before we came into his world, so our family unit was pretty blended, and his eldest child was long, adult. I think she was in her early 20s at this point, and she was hurt and jealous because he wasn't really there in her formative years for, many reasons, but she missed out on that bond with him. And I don't know how old I was at this point, but I know I was in high school. I was pretty young. And I remember sitting alone with her after having, kind of observed this interaction that was unspoken. And my dad was, somewhatly oblivious to, partially because he probably didn't know what to do about it other than to just be there with her. He didn't want to hurt her by bringing it up, knowing that he would be a trigger with him bringing it up. So I brought it up with her when it was just her and I, when you're in the middle of something that is so personal and so real, it's hard to see what's right there because your emotions, they're so loud and they're so distracting. And they connect to so many other things in your world. But I posed her a question, and that was, can you imagine what it must have been like for him to want nothing more than to be in your world, but be denied that connection with you? So when you see him nurturing me and my sister as you do, and you want that with him, and you mourn not having had that with him, do you think he appreciates that connection with me and my sister because he did not get to have that with you, that was a hurt, a wound for him, that he is receiving some healing in being able to have that with us, that he wishes he could have had with you. And her reaction to that was like almost aha, or deer in the headlights, kind of like things are shifting, things are moving, but he could not have that impact, speaking that truth to her, being the source of the pain. But my being, having that connection she wished that she had got to experience, was able to go, do you think that maybe part of the reason why he's so amazing with me and my sister is because it was a great pain for him that he carried and still does, that he didn't get to have this with you. Like that hit her in a different way, coming from me versus coming from him. That, in that moment, that's a little bit of hurt that didn't get to continue to grow and fester and cause distance between the two of them anymore. When she saw him then being really good with me and my sister and just appreciating us and our trust in him and our at easeness and our silliness, and even, if we were a little sassy, because, we were teenagers, right? That she saw it from a completely different light, like he was loving her by proxy, right? Yeah. That is one instance of breaking that. And I'm sure that a lot of the individuals tuning into this reading can resonate to some extent, where you were able to like say something profound and deep and short and sweet, and it just changed someone's whole perspective of everything that was hurting them. And you were happy to do it because you saw how much pain it was causing them. And you could do it, so why wouldn't you? But that was a pink elephant that neither one of them was going to talk about. Neither one of them could be that, being, who they were and all the things that they were concerned about. A lot of it was just wanting to enjoy one another at all, to be in one another's world at all, that they weren't willing to risk what they did have. Sometimes being that curse breaker, the individual that can shed light, has the opportunity and chooses to be of use, to be willing to play that role. Now, because I've seen these things and I've given voice to them, and my family knows that I have this way of seeing things. They all have their own way of being around me and with me, and since my dad's passing, my family, they deal with his passing by not talking about him. And we all deal with mourning and death in different ways. But for me, they're the closest things that we have to him. We all hold memories of him. We all carry him in our thoughts and our likes and our dislikes and things that we find funny. They're very muchly in pain whenever they're around one another because his absence is so heavy over them. And to me, he's never really left. He lives on in us. This is ancestors and descendants. I learned a lot from my daddy. And I know that phrase, daddy, it can really be triggering for some people. So I'll elaborate what it means in particular to me. And then that could probably equate with another label that you are like, oh, okay, well, all right. So saying that he loved me as if I were his own. He never treated me different, and he loved me for who I was. If I had questions, he would answer me honestly. He loved me the way that I think my father would have liked to have been able to. And it's in large part because of the role that he played and how much he absolutely loved my mother that I know, because of him, that it doesn't matter your gender. You're still people, and you still have hearts. You still have emotions and desires. But society places different pressures upon you from the time you're born, really. And we all have different ways of coping with those expectations given our cultures. So when I say daddy, I mean it in the sense of he earned my love. It wasn't automatic or granted or expected or demanded. He earned my trust. He earned my respect. He earned my love. And I made him work for it. It took me a couple of years to really let him in. But he was consistent. He didn't change who he was or how he treated me, or my sister, my mom. He made my mother happy. And that helped me love him and respect him. Because she was my world. And if she was good, then that meant my world was going to be okay. And that's how every child in a blended family feels. There's a lot of that today. I did not want this to be personal, but there is wisdom and heart in that story that I understand why it's shared. I understand that it impacted one life, 2 lives, 3 lives, all those in my family. But it can impact so many more. With Dhakhan, I really like the symbolism of the rainbow, the balance, the being connected to all the different ways of expressing life and creation. And I really enjoy the way he looks like he just stopped wherever he was, stared up at the sky, and was like, I love how the sun feels on my face right now. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm present. I'm aware. And I'm basking in that awareness. Listening to not just myself, but to the resonance of my presence within everything around me. And his eyes are closed, so he's heightening his other senses. We rely so much on our eyes that we sometimes don't actually see what's right before us. The phrase, eyes wide shut, really hits home here because the expansion of your awareness, when you stop relying on your eyes, sometimes you'll become aware of so much more depth. And you see everything more clearly because you feel the energy. You smell the energy. That the earth is alive, that the ancestors are in the animals, in the earth, in the water. They have life. It may not be awareness as we are aware, but there is life to it. Just as, they say with like the atom, there is so much empty space. Like, they don't understand what the matter is that they have labeled dark matter, so they just call it dark because it's unknown. They don't understand what is in that empty space. It is a mystery at this point. So much of it, yet in this moment he is physically embodying the pose of being connected to all that is. There's a little bit of a smile on his face. Just joy at even being aware that he can be aware. The serpent, too, is an interesting concept. And it kind of resonates a bit as well with the rainbow, because the kundalini rising, your ability to create from the physical to the spiritual and the spiritual to the physical, being fully awake as a being, having a physical experience, yet being aware of the space in between space. There's also the mention of time, that you could be interacting once you're in that space with different times. That in that pose of being receptive, you can literally be communicating with your ancestors and your descendants, knowing that you are that one ancestor who was a bit of a rebel and shook things up a little bit. There's a great appreciation for finding the joy, finding the levity in the midst of things that seem so much bigger, that they can be overwhelming in their grandiosity as well as just their heaviness. Working through some of these things are very emotional. There's a lot of pain in them. Laughter is so healing. It sets you free. But it's done with respect and care and loving, considerate. It's not mocking. It's sometimes people find things that are ironic, funny, and that's almost a necessary survival skill. Working through these kinds of heavy things is like, of course that would happen. I mean, it couldn't be any other way. It's, finding the ironic funny, you choosing to survive it and rise above it. Or even, I don't want to use that word, but everybody knows what it means. Stupid humor or dumb humor. Like very basic. Just to really drive it home with that is the movie Night at the Museum, when you have the Easter Island statue talking, and it's like, gum dum what gum gum. And somebody gives the statue enough gum that the statue blows enough of a big enough of a bubble that it covers the face. that humor makes something that is so mysterious and so ancient, and the story of Easter Island, like it adds a humanness to it, a relatability to it, and kind of lightens your memory of it. To have that memory of the Easter Island statue instead of, some of the darker chapters that are talked about more often. Talked about often. And we tend to remember the negative. That laughter right there. That's, a bit of a magic to Dhakhan here. I'm going to trust spirit that this is what's meant to be shared. I've always been very careful with my personal life stories, but I'm going to trust spirit here. I'm going to trust my divine. The universe moved, right? And I heard. And it was for this resonance to hopefully allow you guys that are tuning in to know you're not alone. That there was maybe some healing in this for you. That you can find some validation of your own intuition, your own connection to all that is. And I am incredibly grateful and honored to have co-created this reading with you. The divine within me honors the divine within me. Namaste.